Good morning, children. Welcome to the second part of the chapter going into space. Right? So yesterday we discussed about some of the topics like Earth, what is gravity, then Moon, and we saw the surface of the Moon. Right? Today we'll go further into the chapter and we will be discussing about the topic called as destination moon. So what do you mean by destination moon? Right? So human being has always amazed about traveling into outer space. Right? It is one of the major ambitions of the human being is to travel into the space for right to discover new planets, to discover new stars, to discover new natural satellites or whatever heavenly bodies are present in there. So it was always one of the what we can say aims or ambitions of human being to travel into the outer space. For that different countries, right? So different countries have their own space organizations. Remember, see here what the person you see there, as you can see there is something called as, right, it is NASA, right? So NASA is a space organization of America, that is USA. So what does NASA stand for? NASA stands for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So what is the work of NASA? It is a government organization of US or America which which plans to travel outside the Earth, right? In the same way for India we have something called as ISRO, right? It is the space organization of India. So what does ISRO stand for? ISRO stands for Indian Space Research Organization. So like that we have for different countries. We have Russia has its own, China has its own. So different countries have different space research organizations and all have only one aim, to find out new places outside Earth. So many years back, see, in 1969, so there was a huge space race between some, especially two powerful countries then, right? Then we had America and what is Russia now? We used to call it as USSR. USSR, right? United States of Soviet Russia. Right? It was a group of countries which were united. So two countries were in very tough space race. What was the space race? Two countries. One is USSR and another one is USA. What we call it as America. So what was the tough race between them? Right? They wanted to travel to Moon and first man to land on Moon. That was the main thing. That was the main race. Each country wanted to travel for the Moon first time and make a person to land on the Moon. Right? So that was a competition between those companies. So always remember, children, whoever does the first will be remembered throughout. Right? So if you go to cricket, do you know who is the first person to score first double hundred? No, who is the first person to score the first double hundred? Yes, it is Sachin Tendulkar. He will be remembered all the time because he was the first person to do that. Afterwards, many people have done it. But who does the first will be remembered for a long time because he was the first person doing that. No, so that's why these two countries were in a very strong competition with each other to make the first person to land on Moon. And finally, in the year 1969, July 20, US astronaut, the person you are seeing in the picture, called as Neil Armstrong, became the first man to step onto the surface of the moon, children. You can see the picture of Neil Armstrong there. So he became the first person to put a step on the moon. First, they say the first human being to land on moon. Right? So as you can see, there are many things. First person to climb Mount Everest. Right? First person to run such a long distance. So that's why there is always some speciality. There is something special whenever something is done for the first time. So it becomes very, very special. Fine. So Neil Armstrong was the first human being to land on the moon. Right? So this was the rocket used by America or USA. So the name of the rocket was Apollo 11. As you can see, it is written there. The name of the rocket was Apollo 11. Right? Two people went in that rocket. One was Neil Armstrong and another one was Edwin Aldrin. You can see the pictures of both the persons towards your right of the screen. So Apollo 11 was a rocket that was used. Sorry, Apollo 2 was a rocket that was used to carry Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin to moon. Fine. So what did they do there? They went to the moon. As it was the first time any human being was putting his or going to space. They went there, did some experiments on what type of soil or what type of nature moon has, and took some photographs of the surface of the moon. And while coming back, you can see there they brought 22 kgs of rock, 22 kilograms, right? 22 kilograms of rock as a sample of the moon back to the earth for further studies and any research. Right? So as you can see there, this made Neil Armstrong the first person from planet Earth to land on moon. Such a great achievement, the first person to land on moon. So he'll be remembered throughout, right, till the humankind is will be, he'll be remembered because he has done something for the first time. So Neil Armstrong was the first person to land on moon, and it was followed by Edwin Aldrin, but the first person to land was Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong became the first man to...
Right, so how does to travel to space? So as you can see, we saw two things yesterday. We need a rocket, right, and I told us something called as space shuttle, and space shuttle is nothing but aircraft. So how do this astronauts travel, children? As you can see there, that in order to make them to reach from Earth to moon, they used a spacecraft, which is also called as rocket. Spacecraft is what? The thing that helps you to travel in the space is called as spacecraft. Right? So, but at the same time, if you want to go to space, children, remember, you cannot just go by wearing simple things. Right? Less like pants, shirts, t-shirts, shoes. No, that is not at all possible. Because in space, we do not have air. That is very important. Do not have air. That's the first thing. Next, see, inside the earth or on the surface of the earth, we are protected by what? There is a special layer called as ozone layer, children. Remember, ozone layer. Right, ozone layer. It protects us from harmful rays of the sun and other harmful rays that are coming from the outer worlds. But as we move outside the earth's surface, there is no protection for us. Right, so those harmful radiations may cause damage to you. So that's why, as you can see here, there is an astronaut. You can see he is wearing something, right? Some different kinds of clothes. So he is wearing so this type of special clothing that astronauts wear then when they go to space is called as spacesuit. Right, it is called a spacesuit. Fine, and these astronauts have to stay in this spacecraft, and they just don't go for 1 day, 2 day, like we go for picnics and tours. No, once they go, no, they stay there for months, sometimes years, right? So not only for moon, they go for different things. Sometimes they go to repair sometimes they go to repair satellites or some other. So there is something called as International Space Station. Right? There is something called as International Space Station, which is a joint collaboration of 4 or 5 countries. So people go there and stay there, and they do their work, and after some days, and when their work is done, they just come back to the Earth. So these are all machines, no? So machines need repair and maintenance. So these astronauts are even trained to repair these satellites and all. Fine. So this was about spacesuit spacecrafts, right? So let us read some of the Indian astronauts, right? We have even many Indian astronauts that have traveled to space, right? So again, see, satellite. What satellite? The first Indian satellite was Aryabhatta. Remember Aryabhatta? It was launched in 1975. Now India has many satellites, but Aryabhatta was launched with the help of Russia. Till at that time we did not have the technology to make our own rockets. Now we have the technology, so we launch our own rockets and we send our satellites. But at that time, Indian satellites were launched by different countries. So this is a picture of Apollo 2. What is this? This is a rover. Let's see, rocket is different. Rover lands on the surface. This rover landed on the surface of the moon. Inside that rover, scientists or the astronauts were there. Who were those astronauts? We just saw that some Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin. Right, so this was the Apollo 2 rover that landed on the surface of the moon, children. Right, so as you can see there, this is how it looked. This is a rover which landed on, right, rover was carried by the rocket. So rocket launched that rover on the surface of the moon. Rover landed on the surface of the moon, and astronaut, I think it is Edwin Aldrin. Right, so they landed on the surface of the moon. So this is the surface of the moon, as you can see there. Right, see how they are walking. They are walking on the surface of the moon. Okay, so this is the actual picture taken from the, see how the rover comes, how it is traveling or how it is moving. It is not yet landed on the surface of the moon. It is almost going to land. Children, how beautiful, right? Okay, so yes, so as you can see there, you see a picture on the screen. So Rakesh Sharma, the name of the person is Rakesh Sharma. So he was an Indian Air Force pilot. So he was the first Indian to travel to space, not to moon, right? Not to moon. Space means moving outside the Earth atmosphere. So first Indian, again see, always I told the first person, the first thing done by anything, any person will be remembered. So Rakesh Sharma, who was an Indian Air Force pilot, was the first person and 138th person all over the world to travel into space. So he took his first journey to the space in the year 1984, and the date was 2nd April. Right, so when he traveled to space, so that time Prime Minister of India was Indira Gandhi. So what she told? She asked Rakesh Sharma, how do you see India from the space? So she made a radio call to Rakesh Sharma, who was in a spacecraft. So Indira Gandhi just called Rakesh Sharma and asked, how do you see India? So one of the beautiful replies that was made by the great astronaut Rakesh Sharma, that he told, Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara. Right? You remember that song? It's a very famous song, or it's a very famous poem. So what did Rakesh Sharma reply to Indira Gandhi, who was then the Prime Minister of India? So she told, when she asked, how do you see India from space? So he told, Sare jahan se acha Hindustan hamara. Such a patriotic person. Fine. So due to that, when he came back, as he was the first person or a first Indian to travel to space, he was awarded Ashoka Chakra. Right? So what is Ashoka Chakra? Do anyone can remember, children? It is highest honor, right? Military honor in India. Ashoka Chakra. So highest achievement or highest honor for a military person in India is Ashoka Chakra, right? And for a common person, Padma Shri in India, right? There are many things. Padma Shri is for common person or not normal person, but in a military, if you serve in a military and if you done something really great for the nation, then you will be awarded with the highest military honor called as Ashoka Chakra. Okay? So next we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.